So just get out there early in the morning. Get out there around 8 or 8:30, man. Just come on. It's a great event for a great cause, and you can come out and see my daughters argue and all kinds of great stuff. The walk to defeat ALS, a very important cause.
It's going to be a
What about
gorgeous
you?
day on Sunday as
Thank
well,
you.
right? Yeah, I got a busy weekend, too. As soon as the show's over today, I'm heading up to Weston, Missouri, because I'm going to be hanging out at Greengrass Cattle Company from 11 to 1. They're celebrating Apple Fest in Weston.
That's fun.
We always go up there to do the apple picking, my family and I, and they're going to be grilling burgers with their dry-aged beef, along with food from Haley's Eatery, so all locally sourced food. They said they're going to put together a Nate Bukaty burger. And I told them maybe they should call it the Ned burger, like John Cadillac once called me.
Right.
But it's going to have some of my favorite toppings on it, some spicy bread and butter pickles, and some pickled onions on my burger. But they're going to be their burgers are incredible. And all through Apple Fest weekend, starting today, Greengrass Cattle Company is going to have a special on 810 beef bundles, along with drawings for swag and other store specials. So you can see me. I'll be there from 11 to 1. That's Greengrass Cattle Company off 45 Highway, right down the road from the ranch. Then I'm going to go to the airport and fly to Houston and call a game on Saturday night. And then Sunday morning, I'm going to fly home, and I'm going to host the watch party along with Jaime and everybody else in the Power and Light District for the Kansas City Chiefs and Minnesota Vikings. I haven't hosted one of those yet this year. You could probably tell me more what's in store for me hosting that on Sunday, because you've already done that once this year.
Fun.
But I'm looking to have a great time, kickoff. What is it, 3:25 kickoff?
Sure.
I know it's 3 o'clock window.
3:25.
3:25 kickoff.
Get it right.
So I'll be down there well in advance.
I'm going to host a watch party. I have no idea what time the game is, but see me there.
I'm going to be there well before 3:25. So I didn't know if it was a 3:15 or 3:25 what it was.
You go down there, get a little buzz before you go on stage.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I might need something to
Get a little Miller Lite.
knock off that jet lag. I don't know.
Go get it. Go to Guy Fieri's taco dive and get a margarita flight.
Whoa! I don't know if I need after taking a flight home. I don't know if I need that kind of flight.
I'm trying to make the watch party better.
Look, there will be plenty of Miller Lite. I know that. If you want to come down and watch the
Get a
Chiefs
Miller Lite
versus the
flight.
Vikings, should be a beautiful day outside. Temperatures should be in the 70s. What better way to watch the Chiefs than with Miller Lite, Sports Radio 810 WHB, and me sitting outside watching it on the big screen? And so that's where I'm going to be on Sunday. Come join me.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. We got busy weekend.
That's a lot.
Let's go.
That's a lot. We got Friday Night Football, K-State and Oklahoma State. We got Saturday football with Mizzou and LSU, and Kansas taking on they got
Central
UCF.
Florida, yeah.
UCF.
Central Florida, 3 o'clock.
Conference arch rival UCF, and then Sunday Chiefs and Vikings.
Vikes.
All that and more. What a hell of a weekend. We've got Stan Weber to talk about it after this on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Longest losing streak in Bears franchise history, 14 games they had lost in a row. That's now over. On the same day that we find out that Hall of Famer Dick Butkus passed away at the age of 80, and last night the two stars of the game for the Bears, of course, Justin Fields, who threw 4 touchdown passes, and then DJ Moore, 8 catches for 230 yards and 3 touchdown catches. Never would have expected that would have happened a couple of weeks after we saw them look awful at Arrowhead Stadium, but that's the NFL. Stan Weber, good morning. How are you?
I am doing great.
I was very sad about Dick Butkus yesterday.
It is, and when you get to study his career, it's just amazing how fleeting these players are. He played until he was 31 years old. Didn't it seem like Dick Butkus played till he's 44 years old? But you see the highlights, he's hitting people so hard, but he's also got knee issues. You know, back then he didn't have the good surgeries on the knee issues, and so he ended up playing just 9 years, I believe, 9 years in the NFL. But what a story he has been, just a legend. We all know about him because of what he did for the middle linebacker position. He grew up in Chicago, went to the University of Illinois, right there. Dominant player at Illinois, and they were even good at football back then.
Wow.
I mean,
history. 1-1 and Rose Bowl win, right?
I mean, they were good at football. I mean, He was not just there.
Yeah.
They're winning. And then he went to the Bears right there in that home area. Monsters of the Midway. Mm-hmm. I don't know when the name Monsters of the Midway started, but it might have started with Dick Butkus. He sure lived up to it in his 9 years. He was a turnover machine. He has more fumble recoveries than any Chicago Bear in history. He made interceptions that were amazing. He even returned some of them for touchdowns. He popped people. He was just an amazing guy, and he never played in a playoff game. So I just want Chiefs fans to value a couple things. How short careers are, because doesn't it seem like he's a Chicago Bear forever?
Yeah.
I think 9 years, no playoffs.
Wow. I didn't know that. I did not know
So I just
that.
want the Chiefs fan to value what you've got right here, because these guys aren't going to be here forever. The Travis Kelce's, the Patrick Mahomes. Quarterbacks play a lot longer now, and all of that. Knee surgeries do work. A lot of other surgeries work. Even Achilles surgeries may work now. We used to be career-ending, snap of the fingers. But I just want to say he deserves all the credit in the world. It was fun to see the highlights, see him become an actor and everything else. So, yeah, very sad day. And it looked like the Bears played for him yesterday, hearing of his passing. You know, they played out of their minds.
You mentioned his career as an actor. He appeared in such films as The Longest Yard back in 1974.
The first one?
Mother Jugs in Speed in 76. Johnny Dangerously in 1984. One of my personal favorites as a young man. Hamburger, the motion picture. I remember that one, too. He was in Gremlins 2. He had a cameo in Necessary Roughness, which was a hell of a movie. Any Given Sunday back in 99, and was a regular character on TV shows such as Blue Thunder, My Two Dads, MacGyver, and, of course, Hang Time, and made an appearance on Murder, She Wrote. He portrayed himself in both the critically acclaimed TV movie Brian's Song and then in 2002 in Teddy Bear's Picnic, which I don't know if you saw that. So
I saw Brian's Song.
Right.
Don't show it to us right now, or there'll be tears flowing,
You
at least
can't
for
watch
me.
that without crying.
That's right.
One of the most amazing movies. And you think about being a Bears fan. I mean, 1985 was great.
Yeah.
They won Super Bowl championship, right? Mm-hmm. That was great. But they had Dick Butkus and Gale Sayers come in as rookies and light it up. It's a Hall of Fame career. Snap of the fingers, Hall of Fame careers. But both of them, because of injuries, hardly played. And Gale Sayers, when he had that knee injury, as you hear about in Brian's Song, the movie, he never was the same. So his career was very, very short. And Dick Butkus, I'm telling you, doesn't that sound short? 9 years?
Yeah.
And no playoffs. So these are your heroes. Like, these are the greatest superstar offensive player, maybe one of the greatest, 5 offensive players in the history of the NFL. Gale Sayers out of KU, and then out of Illinois, Dick Butkus, one of the best 5 linebackers, middle linebackers in the history of the NFL. And that's all they get to cheer about. Wasn't it great having those guys here? They were Warriors. We didn't go to the playoffs.
He made the Pro Bowl 8 out of the 9 years he played, 5-time All-Pro. the reason I know about him, I mean, his career was over before I was born. But I was talking to my son about this on the way to his football practice this morning because it dawned on me I need to show him the show. I was telling him about how you see all these documentary series that are making sports popular, like the F1 documentary series on Netflix and the one that's on the golf tour now. I said, the sport that figured that out before anybody else was NFL with NFL Films. And we used to watch all these shows, and I was telling him about NFL Crunch Course, the one you got with your Sports Illustrated subscription went in the 80s. And I must have watched that thing 1,000 times. And they had little features on different players that were like the toughest, hardest hitting guys. Remember they did a part on Ray Nitschke, and then they did one on Dick Butkus. And my dad would sit there and go, "Oh, that guy right there, he'd take your head off." And I was telling my son, "When you watch this, we got to watch it because I'm like, you won't recognize the sport really. The hits that you get thrown out of games for now, they used to celebrate in video form. They would talk about how great of a hit this was and all that. And I remember like watching it thinking, I came away from that video thinking Dick Butkus must have been the most physically intimidating defensive player in the history of the NFL. That was the way they painted him.
No one came
that.
off across the middle. The passing game didn't work over the middle against the great linebackers because there was no penalty for touching them after 5 yards. And it was you tried to clean receivers up. I mean, before the ball got there. Like you headhunt and say, you want to run a crossing route as a fast 190-pound wide receiver? He would try to knock you out as you're coming across. So the quarterbacks had to take these things into account. Like when they passed the ball, they protected the receivers. Like don't throw the ball in the middle near Butkus because you might not have the receiver the rest of the game. That's how hard he'd hit people. And they were very, very open about don't let people cross over the middle in the passing game.
Two other notes from pop culture. When I was a kid, and we were all younger, you remember the great Miller Lite commercials with Dick Butkus and
John Madden,
Bubba Smith,
and a bunch of people.
Were fantastic.
Were those great commercials?
Yes,
they're unbelievable.
They were
they're like
fantastic.
movie scenes.
Bubba Smith was awesome.
Were they 1-minute commercials or 30-second? Because it seemed like they were so good. It didn't seem like snap of the fingers. It seemed like there were like 4 storylines would go on at the same time, and then John Madden would bust through the paper and end up.
In those days, it was the light beer commercials that were the hilarious ones. Now it's the insurance company ones, right? Like all the insurance commercials are really funny and have have Kelsey and Mahomes on it. But back then, it was all the light beer commercials.
And also,
was Butkus a part of that group?
Dick Butkus was, but the most important part here for me, if anyone is a hardcore fan of the Rocky Balboa movies, you remember that Rocky had a dog in Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, and the name of the dog was Butkus, and that was actually the Stallone family dog. And he says that when they got the puppy in 1969, Stallone said he was a ferocious-looking little devil, and when he ate his blanket, we decided to name him after Dick Butkus, the fiercest football player in history. So if you go back and watch Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, Rocky's dog is Butkus, named after Dick Butkus. So there you go.
And he was one of those fascinating guys, too, because like when one of the things I remember in the Crunch Course video, too, they interviewed other incredibly tough, mean football players, Deacon Jones and guys like that. And they were all like, "Oh, nobody was as crazy as Butkus. He was nuts. He was this like complete animal on the field." And then when they would interview Butkus, he seemed like the nicest. And then those commercials, and he was one of those guys that could flip that switch. He's like, "Yeah, when I got out on the football field, I was a completely different person." And I remember him saying, like, "Look, I just looked at it like this is a violent game. I'm going to be more violent than the other guy. I'm going to scare him. I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to intimidate him. And people think that I can't then be this really nice guy off the field, and that's a different person."
And if you see his interviews, which you'll see a lot of them today, right, in memoriam of him, you're going to see him say, "I never took a cheap shot." I mean, he really doesn't, and I'm not saying he did.
Yeah.
He just said, "I'm going to hit you hard in legal play." And boy, did he do it. You're going to see some unbelievable form tackles, head up sometimes, and just smashing people backwards. But what really amazes me is his footwork and anticipation on interceptions. It's unbelievable how many passes he picked off over the middle of the field or scooped up fumbles. He really wasn't just, "I'm going to go hit people, intimidate people, and walk out the field and have this great reputation for my movie career." He actually made real football plays that would be effective nowadays. Now, he may not be fast enough to play a lot, but he would be it's amazing. Some of the interceptions look like the quarterback is blind, and that's just good defense. That's not a super bad quarterback. How did it hit him in between the 5 and the 1? Because he reads that stuff. He was good.
Hey, Marco, I just sent you a clip that I want to play. This is from the 1985 NFC Championship game at Soldier Field with radio analyst Dick Butkus after there was a scoop and score by Wilbur Marshall in the NFC Championship game against the Rams. Here is Dick Butkus in the broadcast booth.
I wonder if they're finally arrived. Maybe they're cheering for the snow. I think they are. Not to get theatrical, but I mean, how better can you write a script here for crying out loud?
A third down, 11 yards to go for Dieter Brock and company. Brock back to pass, the rush on. And hammered down.
He got the ball.
Picked up by Wilbur Marshall. Marshall running across.
Go on.
Go. 30, 30. 20. He'll go all the way. 15. 5. Touchdown.
Way to go.
The crowning jewel in their NFC championship.
A record second consecutive playoff shutout was a spectacular amen.
That's it. So you can hear him say, "We got the ball! We got the ball! Ah, we got the ball!"
I like his laughing.
Right.
Yeah, that's a giant
Maniacally,
question.
yeah.
This is a great radio question about how do you broadcast games. Did you like that, Nate? You're a play-by-play guy, because every play-by-play guy that I've ever worked for would have said that's the worst call ever. Don't ever talk over to the play-by-play guy. It's a basic rule that I live by, and I just wonder, because a lot of NFL guys now think it's funny to start, go to the touchdown, yeah, and it's great to be enthusiastic, but this is a radio question, because I've been taught, and I live by, in my 37th year, the play-by-play guys, everyone I've worked with is, don't you dare make a sound while we're calling the play. It's a radio broadcast. Fans need to hear what happened.
I believe it depends on the personality of the people in the booth and the person. Like Dick Butkus can get away with some things on a Bears broadcast that others
especially when he
can't,
died
right?
yesterday. I'll give you that.
Right, or like even like.
I'm just saying this is very interesting, because we can. If I wouldn't have said that, everyone would have said, "What a great call," and drove down the road, and then every one of the people in the profession that I know would have said that was awful for him to do that as a color analyst.
You know, in general, I think that it's better when the play-by-play guy can call it and you can understand what's going on, and then the color analyst comes in and does all that. I think there's exceptions to every rule. I think when you're the Chicago Bears and the history you just listed off, and maybe your greatest player of all time is in the booth and you're going to the Super Bowl.
And he's never been in a playoff game.
You know, I think
that's unbridled joy.
Yeah, and I do think this, like, you know, sometimes we as broadcasters can get all hung up in the technicalities of the way we want to do the job. But at the end of the day, it's the customer who is right. And if the audience likes it, and let's be honest, when you're doing a local broadcast, the audience is Bears fans. They probably loved it because that's their guy, Dick Butkus, and he's as happy as they are. You know, and I think there's a little bit of a happy, you know, there's a little bit of a happy. If he does that every single time the Bears score a touchdown.
Yeah, that's like week 3 against the Lions, probably not, but that's the NFC Championship game,
Yeah.
and you're losing your mind.
Yeah.
And they're on their way to one of the greatest
Right.
NFL seasons in history.
And he wasn't like just going completely screaming all the way over it. He's laughing. He's saying, "Go!" I don't know.
That was real raw emotion.
And I think it's fun. One of the things that I love is there. To me, there's two types of analysts. They're always former players or coaches, almost, you know, like yourself. They're either doing it because they're done playing and they just don't know what else to do.
I think he's looking at me right now.
Wow.
I think everybody that everybody that listens,
incredible.
I think that everybody that listens knows how much you love doing this. I don't think there's anybody that can
We haven't heard the
possibly
other
question.
alternative yet.
And then there's the people that love it. You know, that just love being a part of the game, however, you know, and love the broadcast and get excited to call a game and all that stuff. And so, like, and that are a fan. That's what I meant to say. Like, they're still a fan. Like, you could hear in his voice how happy he was. And I think you could hear the analysts when you like. That's one of the reasons I think so many people do love Tony Romo. He seems like he's having a blast. Chris Collinsworth is having a great time doing this. He doesn't sit there and think, man, I'm just, I'm getting paid to do this now, and I used to be a great player, and here I am. And there are guys like that, and so I think that anytime I hear a guy that's having as much fun watching the game as I am as a fan, I like that guy. And that's what it sounds like. For the Bears fans are like, man, Butkus is as happy as we are that this team's going to the Super Bowl.
I apologize for that tangent because I don't need to take away from Dick Butkus. I mean, the guy's amazing. He seemed to be such a good soul all the time in his acting career or wherever he was. Because, when you're acting, it's a job. It's a skill. You can trick people. You're acting. But when he was on live in any situation, interviewed, it was amazing to hear him. I feel sorry for him because maybe this is a Bear thing, but when he got honored at a Chicago Bear football game, I think it was on Monday Night Football, so they wanted to honor him for making the Hall of Fame or getting in the Ring of Honor. I mean, this is a big, big honor for him at halftime, right? You know those games. Mm-hmm. And the weather was as bad as it could possibly be. No, it wasn't cute like snow.
Right.
Snow's cute and fun.
Yeah.
This was a sideways rain in Chicago. Can you imagine how cold it doesn't matter what month it is. Heck, I went to Cubs games in June, and I froze my buns off.
Yeah.
If I wasn't hit by the sun in Wrigley Field, you're cold with that air conditioning effect with the wind coming off the lake. And I saw a highlight of this. Everyone was bundled up. He got up and spoke, and I felt so bad. They ought to do it again. I mean, they should have done it the next week or something because what a bad weather position to honor maybe the guy most famous for being a Bear, other than Hallis.
And his name also is synonymous with excellence at linebacker, the Butkus Award.
Yeah.
The Butkus Award, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
And so he was hilarious still on Twitter.
And Marco has no idea who that is.
And I have no idea why. So he had like 200,000 followers, right? And he would make smart-ass comments. And he was even, taking shots at the Lions. Against the Chiefs, before the game, and then he followed 362 people, and I was one of them. I have no.
That's
idea,
amazing.
But I have no idea why. I mean, I don't know how.
Yeah.
You're a Butkus Award winner. 362.
Him and his son kind of ran it because they would still do events in Chicago or whatever. But his tweets were hilarious, and people were even talking about how he was there, for opening night against the Packers and how mad he was because of the way they got beat by the Packers. But I just to wrap it up, I thought that was awesome that the Bears ended that losing streak and won the same day that we find out that Dick Butkus passed away. So, it feels like they won it for him. We'll take a break. Back into this on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Hey, Kansas City, Steven St. John here for my friends at Poly Magic. That's